So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 13 mini versus iPhone 13 Pro Max. In this video, we're going to discuss which is the better option. And if you click this video and you're just like, oh, the iPhone 13 Pro Max, it's bigger, it's better, then, well, you got your answer already. But keep in mind that is subjective. That is kind of ignoring the research and kind of looking into the actual things that make these phones good a piece. So that's what we're going to do here. Take a look at the opposite ends of the extreme, the smallest iPhone or the largest iPhone here. So we're going to begin with the first win for the iPhone 13 mini, and that is price. We're talking a $400 difference in the actual price of the phone, but when you consider how much larger the iPhone 13 Pro Max is, it's almost like you're getting two iPhone 13 minis right there. So definitely it is kind of justifiable in the price section, but that's the first area where the mini is just the better pick. If you're trying to save a buck, it's definitely the better pick on that. Now, it's also the better pick when it comes to weight and design. The terms of, well, not so much design, but the weight for sure. The weight on this phone is only around 141 grams or so. This is 100 grams heavier, 240. Now, neither of these are too hard to handle day to day, but this one can be cumbersome, a little bit awkward if you're not used to large phones. I think anybody could pick this up and it'll just be really easy to use this one-handed device pretty much all day. So I will say one thing though about the mini, it does stay cleaner in the camera housing section, which I find to be better than the Max, but on the Max, gets a little bit more premium looking, but can get a little bit greasier, a little bit dustier. Same applies to the edges of each phone. The aluminum's a bit cleaner on the mini than the Max over here. But I would say overall that the Max does have a nicer back material. We have the pure glass here. I do like the red, but it's still that shiny glossy glass. Over here we have that etched matte kind of filling material. It's just kind of clean all the time. I'd love to see this in a product red version. Overall, I would say that in terms of design, I do think the Max is better though. It has a more durable stainless steel material and it does look a little bit more premium. It has a little bit better feeling when it comes to the heft to it, but the Mini, man, it's portable. It's still a premium build, and honestly, it kind of just feels like a mini-me version of the Max without the stainless steel. So I would have liked to seen a Pro looking mini. Let me know if you agree. That probably would have looked amazing on the iPhone 13 mini. Now, when it comes to their actual displays here, they actually are quite similar when you look at the spec sheet, but they're just a big difference in size, 5.4 inches versus 6.7. But there's a reason why the Max is better, and it's not the clear answer, oh yeah, it's a bigger display. Yeah, that would be a very simpleton answer over there. This display is actually better because it's brighter. So it can hit 1000 nits. Over here you can hit 800 nits. So you can just see this better in sunlight. You can see it's ridiculous overexposed. That's because the brightness levels are ridiculous. The nice thing is that you're not really sacrificing too much with the Mini because the Mini actually has the same level of brightness as the prior Pro model device in the iPhone 12 Pro. So it's actually still very good, but you have more brightness, so it's better here. This is also a smoother 120 Hz ProMotion, and it's only noticeable when you put things side by side. And honestly, this is a sacrifice I don't mind making for the Mini just because it's so unique of a device, not having ProMotion. But still, I have to say the Max is better just because it has that adaptive refresh that can actually save it battery and make it more efficient. They have the same aspect ratio, but you have more screen. So when you are reading on the Max, for example, if you're reading an article, it still appears to have more width and just space to kind of read things. Text doesn't look as small. So that is a benefit as well. You know, I would say size preference is kind of subjective, but from an objective standpoint, we do have a sharper display on the Mini, but because the text is smaller and it's bigger over here, it doesn't seem to make too much of a difference. And I actually prefer reading on the Max because it's less scrolling to do. So the Max, I think in pretty much every way does have a better display if you're willing to deal with this larger panel. However, the sacrifices that you make for the Mini are not huge except for the size, because it still has an OLED XDR. It can still hit 800 nits. It still has 1200 nits peak, and this thing is still having, you know, HDR10 support. So it's still a really good display overall. The Max is just simply better. So when it comes to the software, we can just make this section pretty short. They both have the same features. There's nothing really that the Max does besides a couple apps can go some landscape mode, you know, like the messages and stuff like that. But on the whole, I'm using these in portrait most of the time, and the iOS experience is identical. So you don't really sacrifice much there. And that can make the Mini a value because you are getting the same software and longevity and support for several $100s less. So that can make the Mini a little bit of a bargain by comparison to the Max. Now, yes, iOS blown up is a lot better when it comes to gaming. You have more space to see your games, stuff like that. Maybe reading, you could argue media consumption, stuff like that. But still, it's at the core, it's the same experience. So I can't really give one the edge here when it comes to software. Even if the Max has a few more camera things going on, I still find the software to be the same experience. I just feel like I'm using a Mini version if I switch over to my Mini. Now, I could consider doing a speed test on these two if you want to see, but there is a winner when it comes to performance. They both do have Apple A15 Bionic chipsets on board here, but the iPhone 13 Pro Max actually features 6 gigabytes of RAM, so it's going to be a little bit more efficient when it comes to RAM management, stuff like that. They both do feature 5G for performance, so that's pretty good. But you also have a 5-core GPU in here versus a 4-core GPU in the Mini. In addition to that, with a larger body, more battery, and more space to spread out the heat, the iPhone 13 Mini is likely to get warmer than the iPhone 13 Pro Max under heavy load. So if you do want the serious performance, you want a little bit better performance, I think the Max is going to be the way to go here. It is the better option. However, the Mini on this device is ridiculous for its size. It's a portable powerhouse. You're only sacrificing 1 core on the GPU and a couple gigabytes of RAM, a couple little things that just make it bench a little higher, get a little bit more performance. That would be the Max in this case. Now, when it comes to their cameras, this one is easily going to the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And again, it's not as simple as, oh, look, Nick, it's obvious. This is the cameras. There's more. I mean, that's the obvious answer. You're getting more cameras, but that's not the actual reason that this is the better pick. Number one, this phone has the macro mode. You don't have this on the Mini, and that is a super useful feature. I think it's actually more useful than zooming because, you know, you get close to things a lot, but do you really need to zoom in on things all the time? And you could still zoom, but you see, you can't get this on the Mini. That makes it the better experience right off the bat. The second thing about the 13 Pro Max that makes it better is that it actually has a higher aperture in both the wide and ultra wide lenses, which basically means when you are in night mode, you'll see it appear up there. When you are in night mode, you're going to get better overall results. In addition, I do find the larger screen much more enjoyable to frame my photos if I'm doing serious photography or videography. It's just a lot more fun to use this camera here. Now, where the Mini still shines though, is it still offers you essentially a similar overall result if you have good lighting, because the aperture only makes a lot of sense when you get into low lighting. In addition, it still features your cinematic mode, so your sacrifices are not huge on here, but if you do want the overall total package pro camera, they still have separated these pretty good, and I would say the Max is the way to go. In addition, you do get the 3x telephoto with the ability to zoom 15x. Now, I want to see more zoom on future iPhones, but for this one, 15x, over here 5x. So the zoom is ridiculously different. You could say you're on vacation, you need to zoom in on something, you're seeing you're sitting way back and maybe Mickey Mouse is down the street or whatever at Disneyland. You want some more zoom, you got it right here with the Max. This one's going to be a little bit blurry because it's only 5x and it's only digital. Over here, at least you got 3x optical. Now, on the topic of battery life, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is actually objectively better than the iPhone 13 mini. Reason why is simply that it has a larger battery life. Now, that's because of 4352 milliamp hour battery. It's pretty obvious. You can stuff a larger battery in that shell of a body versus that shell of a body. Although I'm a little disappointed that Apple didn't put even bigger battery in here, 4352. I feel like at this size, they could have stuffed in maybe a 5000 and this would have been even better. But the Max, with its efficiency, actually outperforms some Android phones with 5000 milliamp hour batteries. So very amazing upgrade. And this phone is like a 2-day phone with medium usage. The iPhone 13 mini is a 1-day phone, which actually is nice because it's better than the iPhone 12 mini. And if you want to use a mini phone, this is the one to get. It can at least get you through your day. But the iPhone 13 Pro Max is going to really seriously impress you with the battery. You're going to be having to try to actually drain this battery. I mean, literally try. Like play games all day, use the camera all day, use the screen all day. That's how you'll actually drain it. But if you don't and you're just off and on using it, you're going to be seriously impressed. And both of them have great standby. This is iOS after all. Now, when it comes to connectivity, they are both pretty equal. I'm pretty pleased to report that they both have good signal strength, both have 5G, very strong in this area. Qualcomm modems on board make these phones far better than their iPhone 11 Pro, iPhone XS counterparts. They both have the same notches, I just wanted to mention, but the iPhone 13 mini actually has a smaller screen, so it's a little bit more noticeable. It's a little easier to just avoid the notch like that, but on this one, yeah, you're gonna be seeing it a little bit more. Face ID though, I actually find them to perform exactly the same. So if you like Face ID, you're not into Touch ID, you'll be happy with either of these here. So does the Mini really do much better? Because it seems like I've been giving the Max all the points here. And yes, it's one of those intangible things. It's something that you don't really think about. It's not a spec sheet thing. It's a psychological thing. It's the way it feels using it day to day. Also ergonomically, you can say in the hand, it feels really good day to day. It's portable. It fits in my pocket easy. And it does those type of things better. But the Max actually has a lot of things that just blow the Mini away when we're talking about premium and performance based things with the camera, stuff like that. But I will say that the Mini is right there. Like for a small phone, if you really like the Max, but you want a mini size phone, I think you'll be happy here. It's like almost at that Pro phone name. It's just not quite there because of the two cameras, because of, you know, a couple of things, no 120 hertz display. I've had my runs with both of these, but I constantly find myself putting the SIM back in the iPhone 13 Pro Max. For me, it's because I'm a heavier user. I'm doing YouTube business stuff. I'm doing all kinds of, you know, camera, videography, photography, social media, things like that, emailing clients, stuff like that. So I find the bigger screen a little bit more useful, but that doesn't mean it's better for you particularly. If you like to have more portability in your day-to-day life with your phone, you don't want to be distracted by all the apps and stuff like that, I find the Mini to be a superb option as well. But it's hard to ignore the battery life for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It is on another level, so that really makes it a very appealing option. But I do think the Mini has its space in the market. A lot of people, you know, there's a lot of people in the market that prefer this size, or their hands simply aren't large enough to handle something like that. So I'd recommend getting one of these before they discontinue it, more than likely later this year. But if you're looking to go all out on iPhone right now, I still think the Max is a good option. We have several months until the 14 series, so if you could snag one of these, maybe they're doing a promotion or something like that, you know, at a carrier or something, you can snag a deal, trade in your old phone, get it for cheaper. The Max is still up there. It's still one of the best. I just really can't wait to compare it to the S22 Ultra that's on its way. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing for more. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. I will catch you all in the very next episode, and peace.